Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good
Good
Sunday,
morning.
good
Good.
Sunday.
It's Sunday.
It's
It's
Sunday.
a
It's the
happy
holiday.
Sunday.
How you feeling?
Holiday Sunday. Get happy holidays. I feel fantabulous.
Not just
Yes,
fantastic, but fantabulous.
fantabulous. Yes.
Is fantabulous a word?
Yeah, it's a good day. It's a good Sunday. No, it's a word because I made it up. But so yes, it's a word. Will it be in Webster's? Nah, it probably won't be in Webster's though.
Oh, I
But
love
yes,
it.
it is a word. It is two words smashed together. It's a smash up.
What? Yes, a smash up of fabulous and fantastic. And so hopefully with our topic today, those of you who have if you see the scroll happening, um all right, we got a kind of hot topic today. Hot literally. It can get, I think, very heated talking about this topic. And so I'm hoping that it will be fantabulous because our goal is to have these discussions in an effort to heal and provide other insight and other perspectives. And so yeah, so church hurt, Barry Riley.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Mm,
It's
mm.
huge. It's huge. Someone who has grew up in the church, like so many of us. Um, Not necessarily like you didn't necessarily grow up in the church,
I didn't. I really
like
didn't. No.
me or some other people. And then I didn't really grow up in like a bona fide like Baptist church, like showing up, like shouting and all of that, screaming and stuff like that. I didn't grow up in a church like that, but I did grow up in a Christian church, evangelical, real fundamental
Mm.
Christian church. But and it's
Church. Yeah.
church, and it does. Church hurt is real. It's a real thing, and it's a I don't know whether to call it a hot topic, but it is very like there's a lot of people that have dealt with this, um,
Yeah.
and I totally understand it. I have lots of experiences with church hurt. Not that it was any deciding factor in how I interact with my particular beliefs and faith and spirituality. But
Right.
I do understand it, and we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get
We're gonna get
into it
into it.
today.
Yeah, I
We
wanna.
gotta
I wanna.
we're gonna peel back some layers. We gotta get
We're
into
gonna peel some
the
later.
conversation.
We only got 40 minutes. We trying to stick to our
Yeah,
time, but
we
hopefully, but
try.
I
Yeah,
want to set it up just a little bit. First of all, we should say good morning and welcome to Spiritual Shift. In case we just went straight into the topic, but if you look at the scroll there, it
we just
says
went right at it.
Spiritual Shift live discussion. And so we come here every first and third Sunday of the month and we discuss a topic. And the topic is usually something that not necessarily controversial all the time, but a lot of food for thought behind it and a lot of layers. And the point of us doing spiritual shift is not to convince or persuade people to shift toward anything that we're saying or believing. It's really to have a conversation and dialogue outside the box of maybe what we traditionally would talk. Where our attempt is to grow really and curate safe spaces to have these questions and conversations and beliefs and values to be more inclusive of maybe not just one thought or one idea or two, but many. So anything that you hear us share today or any other time, these are our opinions, obviously, right? At the same time, the thought is for to give you some food for thought. And whatever your belief system value is, so forth, to me, as long as you're rooted in that, there's really nothing I can say that should necessarily change that. But maybe there's something I can say that can give you more food for thought to consider broadening or enhancing or enriching. If you are not feeling very fed, maybe it is something that will allow you to begin to maybe consider a different way of practicing whatever that is. So I wanted to really give that preface because when we're talking about church hurt, I do think that this topic, like Barry said, it can have a lot of layers. And it's not to suggest to tell people what to go and do. You know, while I have a background in counseling and Barry has a background in theology and all in education, we're coming here as just family having discussions. So I had proposed that we talked about
Two
this
people chopping
idea.
it up.
Yes, chopping it up. And we want to hear from you too. So if you have comments, if you've had experiences, I can't always see all the comments in live time, but I definitely try to go back and respond. But we'd love for you to chime in and ask a question. Hopefully, I can see it if you need us to answer it or want to discuss it. So the reason I brought up the church hurt one is I've been seeing more, it be more publicly noted, people talking about it a little bit more in the public and social media. Definitely in Clubhouse, I've seen a variety of rooms, even clubs dedicated to this whole idea of church hurt and how this is impacting people's ability to be on their spiritual and faith journey, and how hurtful, in fact, some people how hurtful some experiences some people are having, and then how there can be a level of confusion behind that, disappointment, fear, so many things can happen. So I thought, well, let's talk about it. But my goal, I'm never one to, just vent. I'm always one that wants to be able to offer some ideas and some things, not necessarily fix it, but some things to consider, to move forward, to help you in case you have experienced church hurt. Also to help you decide, maybe I don't know if I'm having church hurt. I feel this way. Is this what it is? Maybe to give you some more information to chomp
Right.
on.
Right.
So you started out talking kind of about being raised in the
Right.
church, and I was not raised in the church. I went to church. We went to church many times. But as far as a church home every week, that wasn't something that I experienced as a kid, but I was very, very, very well aware of the church, because I would see my mother kind of go through her own church hurt. I watched her go from kind of church to church, attempting to find somewhere where she felt at peace, where she could really dig into this, and then hearing kind of the noise of certain things maybe going on. The next thing I knew, she was going to a different church. Or hearing my dad was one who, oh Lord, he was a very funny guy. And so we would go to church and my dad he's cracking jokes, whispering things to me. It's during prayer. I'm like, Daddy, I'm gonna start laughing. Don't do that. And so my dad, I already knew for him, church was an interesting space for him. And so I think because of maybe some of his hurt that he had to, experience, made him shift his lens about how he implemented church in his life. So this idea of church hurt is real, and it can very much influence how you practice your journey and how you understand your faith to be. So I don't think it's something that we should just, oh yeah, church hurt, girl, and keep on going. I think it's worthy of a discussion, because I want people to be able, if you're experiencing that, how can you still move forward and still feel strong in your faith and your belief system, and not allow whatever hurt push you to the point where you're now detached. So those are my kind of intros. That was long, but yeah, thoughts, anything, do
No,
you
sure.
want to pose a question or respond to anything, all that I just said?
No, I mean, I'll give an opening as well. I was raised in the church. It was a very, like I said earlier, evangelical fundamental church. Like if it ain't in the Bible, like it don't even exist at all in the world. Very literal. So that was one thing, and then and it was a part of our life, and for the most part, I loved it. It was very beneficial for me growing up for a lot of different reasons. I love the Bible. I love talking about the stories. I love a lot of what I did. And to be quite honest, I didn't really, as a child growing up, I didn't really experience any church hurt. Um, not really. In our particular church, we had a group of churches that did things together in our denomination, and then we had a huge camp in Michigan called Circle Y that was amazing. It was amazing. It was an amazing, and it's
Yeah.
called Circle Y Bible Camp. So we would spend the summers up in Michigan, on the lake and camping and doing camp stuff. It wasn't until I was an adult, um, and actually in seminary, in ministry, that I experienced the first, like, what the hell is this? Like, like what is going on here? And it wasn't something that, because I was at a church and I was doing an intern there for graduate school. That was the only reason I was at the church. And some things were going down. I was an adult at this point. I was in my late 20s. Late 20s. And I just noticed some things, and I was like, this doesn't seem right to me. This isn't really even right. So I was a lot more able to process what was going on.
Yeah.
And so I totally understand what this church hurt is. And at the time, I just wrote the people off, and the challenging thing for me at the time is that the people, and it wasn't necessarily, uh, it was just they were doing some things that they weren't really helping me, because I was there
Yeah.
trying to get my internship done, and it's like you aren't really helping me. You're actually blocking me. Actually, you're causing
Mm-hmm.
me some more challenges. So I was able to process it in a different way, and I began to understand, like, these are just people. These are people working through whatever it is that they're working through. And
Yeah.
I'm receiving a particular energy from them. So what do I do about that? Like, how do I? So at the time, I couldn't, like, just leave because I needed to get my internship done. So
Right.
that's
Right.
where,
Well,
you
and I
know,
think what you just said, I'm sorry, I was going to say, because I want to put a pin in that. Sometimes you can't just leave, right? Because I think we can be really quick
yeah.
to say, oh, just leave. But depending on, like, what, obviously that was something that you were doing to attain your degree, but also people who are very rooted in the church with their family. Like, this may be the church that their grandmother
Hmm.
went to, that their
Hmm.
aunts and their friend group that they've made, and so while they may be
Hmm.
experiencing
Hmm.
some church hurt from some people in the church, it also is family in a lot of ways, and some
Hmm.
blood family, and then some just family in the sense of just being so connected in this faith space. And so I do think that's where the church hurt, where it becomes very complicated, because now you can feel these other entities that maybe are not your
Hmm.
family per se, but you feel these other entities who, that something doesn't feel aligned, or maybe something more even obvious was done to you, and now if you leave, you're going to be in
Hmm.
this isolation. There's a sense of
Hmm.
being ostracized. And so then you
Hmm.
end up attempting to stay and focus just on the mission of, okay, me and God, my relationship with, Jesus, Lord, and let me just focus. But then you're experiencing all of this noise. And in fact, now there's a clutter. And I think that's where it gets tricky. So I would love for us to kind of maybe, you had to get through for your internship. but then you were able to kind of move on and do. What advice would you give to that person who's in the scenario that I just said, where mama, daddy, grandma, everybody, this is the home church, the home church. And I do have really good, close people here, but I feel really devastated or really disconnected or really hurt. I'm scared to
Hmm.
leave. What do you do? Like what? And not that you are the answer, but I'm just, in your opinion.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could do. I mean, depending on the person. If you can't like leave the church completely, I mean, it's totally okay to just take a hiatus, you know,
Mm,
for a week, a
mm,
couple weeks, and just clear, clear the air, at least on your side. Visit some other churches. Go to church with some friends, from somewhere else, or explore some other. They're trying to leave, but just clear the air and just kind of see how you feel after, a week or a couple weeks. If you can't do that, like if you're in the choir or something,
right.
he's like, I gotta sing every Sunday. I can't just leave.
Yeah.
Um, then I would, yeah, you have to. I'm gonna take a slice from Michelle Obama. You know, you go high. You have to go high and and basically focus on your own healing. Focus on your own, um, sort of, you know process of, okay, this is either happened, something was said, something was done, or something was not done, or something was not said, or whatever the case is. You have to reconcile that with how like your emotions and your spirit. Like that has to be the priority.
Yeah.
If you're gonna like stay in the church and then like not even take a week or two off, then you have to figure out a way to go ahead and reconcile that. Now, what I would not recommend, and you and I have talked about this as well, is to hold it in.
Mm,
Find
mhm.
someone, in the church, that's not related to the situation, that doesn't even know anything about the situation. Someone that you trust, that you love, that you can depend on, that's not going to go run their mouth, off.
Right.
You know, and you're
Right.
laughing like you have to find this person. You have to have this person, and then just kind of use them as a sounding board to just sort of
Yeah.
get it off of your chest. A lot of times, when something has happened, just talking about it with someone that you know and that you trust is helpful to just get it out of you. Just get it. So you're acknowledging and affirming, like, this happened to me. This is how I felt about it. Um, and it's not about the other person trying to solve the problem. It's just like you just getting it off of your chest. You're just getting it out of you. So that's what I would
Absolutely.
recommend.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
That was good. That was really good. I think that, I want to really highlight the fact that you said, you don't just have to up and just, well, I got to go. That's it. But you may need to take a minute. You may need to take a beat, and it's okay to take a little bit of time. It's just like with anything else, in our lives, that we have relationships in our institutions, work, those things. We take vacations, we take sabbaticals, we take rest, we take time away. And I do think, what will be helpful in taking that time away, is to help for you to put a little bit more in perspective, as well as and really actually feel a little bit more of whatever it is you're feeling. Because sometimes what will happen, and this happens, when we allow ourselves to stay in situations that are we are feeling a sense of hurt, because we want to still function, we will suppress things in a very interesting, weird way. And we won't even be very clear about how we actually feel. And
Mhm.
it sometimes takes us removing ourselves or pushing pause and taking rest, so that in fact we could actually feel what the heck it is we're feeling. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And to actually, be able to identify it, so that as we are making decisions, we're making it from a space of clarity and not a space of not such heavy, maybe heightened emotion where all factors weren't really considered. So I love that you said take a break. And I love that you said maybe go visit some other churches and get a sense of, because the other thing you have to decide, is it that there was an incident that happened at the church, or is it the culture of how you are doing church? So if you go to a different church, so let's say that maybe there's not been a specific person that has necessarily done something so hurtful, but in general, the culture, the way people you know congregate, the way, just the spirit and the energy at which people acknowledge or don't, may just feel hurtful sometimes. I mean, I know I've experienced that, where it's just the energy of where I was at. It wasn't like one specific person did anything to me, but the energy was one that just didn't feel good. And so I don't know if I would go as far as to say it hurt, but it didn't feel in alignment. And so it may be that you just need to be in a different setting, in a different church, a different type of, maybe it's still the same. You don't have to just leave the church per se, but that you just need a different, space. And I know many people have experienced that, and they, that's what kind of that church hopping, or that's kind of how we, it's time to shift. It's time to, and it may not be as drastic as hurt, but I want to kind of go now a little bit more into deeper hurt. That kind of hurt where people are now, I don't even trust God. I don't even trust this religion, this faith. Maybe not God. Maybe we won't go as far as God. Let's not go that deep so fast. But like maybe looking more into, I don't trust this system or this religion anymore. And so there is like a bigger exit from literal, like I don't want to be involved with any church. How does that person, when they're feeling like that, what's some thoughts or advice? How should that person maybe begin that journey? Because that's a pretty drastic journey if you've been really connected to the church.
Yeah, it's a pretty drastic journey. I mean, I would say, and this is touchy. I mean, this is real touchy because I would say that they have to really listen to themselves. I'm a big proponent of being in touch with yourself, like who you are, like your soul, like all of that. So this could be an opportunity for them to get further in touch with their, like who they really are, like what their soul journey, what their religious journey is really about, and kind of refocus, because it's not about, like, everything that happens in our lives. It's really to get us to move forward or to move in another direction. Either to keep moving forward, to move in another direction. So if something happens where you're like, I don't even know about Jesus and like this religion, I don't really know, then you have to stop and take note of that. It doesn't mean that you leave Christianity. It doesn't mean, but you have to figure out, what is it that I am here at this church for? Specifically, like, what do I really want and need to grow my faith? So so it's almost like when we're choosing like what we want to eat for dinner, or breakfast, or for eating, it's like, I don't have a taste for that. I don't have a taste for that. And then it's like, oh, what about such and such? You're like, yeah, I have a taste for that now. It's almost like you have to be in that mode with your own spiritual growth and your own faith. It's like something happened, I didn't really appreciate it. It really hurt me. Okay, what do I have a taste for right now?
Wow.
Once you get past the hurt, like deal with the hurt, because the hurt is real. The hurt is real.
Hurt is real.
Deal with the hurt. And that's a whole protocol. But then, as you're dealing with the hurt, once you kind of get a handle on that, it's okay. What I have a taste for spiritually, is this really Because when we're eating something and it's like, ugh, what is that? That's not what I wanted. Sometimes you taste something and it's like something's not right with this food. Like that's a, haven't you done that? Like you're eating
Oh,
some food and it's
absolutely.
like, wait a minute, something's not right.
Yeah.
Something's not right with this.
Something's
Like,
not right with
and
the
then you
food.
kind of like, let me back up off. Yeah, let me back up. Waiter, can you come over here? I need to get this.
Well, you're so
So
funny.
that's part of it. It's it's like you need to figure out what do you have a taste for because something has interrupted your spiritual taste bud. Like that didn't really taste good. So is
Mm.
it? I'm not saying leave the church. I'm not saying leave your church. I'm saying what is your spiritual taste buds? What is it really looking for? What does it
Y-
really want to
You've
taste?
you've created a whole nother topic. Like, I love that. What's your spiritual taste buds? That is
Mm.
that's because I think, that's but bump, but at the same time that's real because I think that we have to start thinking about for ourselves, and this is the tricky part. If we have been raised in the church and our mama and daddy and grandma and cousin and auntie and godmother and everybody and our best friends since third grade are all a part of this church, have we even had an opportunity to really fully dig into our taste buds, our spiritual taste buds? Where is the opportunity to actually sit with your own taste bud? Are you in a church that gives you the space to sit in your own taste buds and your own, like, how do you feel about this? How is this? And
Right.
I think that that right there is so critical to any walk, is to
Yeah.
sit down with self. I don't care if you're hurt or not, to sit down with self to decide, does this feed me? And I think what becomes scary about this, because we do have so many connections to family and the church and friends, and then on top of that, we're being told a certain thing about God and about our belief system and our allegiance and our value. So if I begin to now shift a little bit away from that or think differently, what in the world is going to happen to me? You know what I mean? And that's how this interesting
Right.
cycle can start happening. What is going to happen to me? And so, with
Right.
anything that we get hurt in, any long standing relationship that is of a lot of value to us, there is no way that I would ever tell anybody to leave any situation without first sitting down with self and deciding for self, what is it that self needs. So I'm so glad you said that, because I don't know if we get the permission slips in church to really decide for ourselves, what is it that I need, and how can I grant that to myself. So I think that was really, really important, really important. So, all right, so we're
Yeah.
we're at
Yeah.
we're at our kind of 30-minute mark, and I want to welcome those. It looks like we got some nice viewers and getting a lot of likes on this. I know that this is a topic that it has a lot of layers, and I, again, out of respect to the institution of church, because I have a lot of I how do I want to say this? I think the concept of church and gathering and community when it comes to our faith walks is critical. Community, we were just talking about this, right, Barry? We were just talking about the importance
Yeah.
of your spiritual walk being in community, and how you have a part of your spiritual walk that absolutely needs to be individual and that needs to really be nurtured on your terms. But because we are human doing this experience, there's a level of community that's really, really important as well. So I think this is
Right.
why this feels so hurtful, because you are attempting to create community around what we have made the most loving, purest, safest, sacred thing, God and spirit. And then to get hurt in that can send
Mhm.
you down
Mhm.
a really, like, I'm now agnostic, I'm now atheist, I don't talk to that person no more. I mean, like, really, it can send you down. It can send you
Right.
down the path. So we want to
Yeah.
help have this
Yeah.
conversation so that people don't leave community, so that people don't decide that because you have a hurtful situation, you no longer believe in a faith journey. You know what I mean? Like it just may have to look and move
Right.
different. Anything to add? I mean, I've said a lot. I could go on and on because I've seen so many people go through church hurt.
No.
I really have, and it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's real. I mean, it's real. The question that came to my mind is like, is church a safe place? Is church a safe place? And you want it to be a safe place.
Yeah.
But and ideally it's supposed to be a safe place. But I think the reality is that wherever there's people, you have to agree that we're always gonna, like, wherever there's people on a quote spiritual journey or religious journey, for me it's helpful if everyone can agree to be on our best, like to strive to be our best at all times. Because this thing that we're talking about, churches, it just doesn't happen in churches.
I was just gonna say,
it
it's
doesn't
all
happen in
over.
churches. So yeah, it's all over. So you know me. I've been a part of several spiritual communities. Several different spiritual communities that had nothing to do with Christianity, nothing at all. And the same thing happens in those communities.
Right.
The same
And
thing
so, you know
happens.
what, Ken? Okay, I don't want to interrupt, but I want to say this because I think some people
No.
think that if you're not in a Christian space, but you're in a more just spiritual community, that, oh, that's going to fix it. You're not going to experience hurt anymore. We're all kumbaya all the time. And it's like, what? No,
No.
we're still humans. We still have group
No.
dynamics. We still have to negotiate community. And, people are coming to the table with their own issues and hurts, individual
Their own
hurts,
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to, a couple people have made some comments. I do want to read a couple. One is from Al Seaforth. I don't know if Al's still watching. Hey, Kenya McGuire Johnson. Hey, Sean. B. Sean. Yeah. Hi, Al. Al's a DJ, an amazing human. So it's good to hear from you, Al. Camila, girl, you know what, Camila? Listen, let me tell you something. You were on my mind this morning. And if you're still watching this is so crazy because I literally this morning said to myself, I need to text or reach out to Camila because you are a person that I just really admire and you know that I love you. So she said requires, and I think we were talking about what does it take when she said this, to kind of figure this out. But she said requires courage, self-awareness, and mindful awareness to break away from how we were socialized. Yes. That
Absolutely.
Right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's an important concept because like you have family hurt.
Come on now.
You got hurt in your family. So it's the human factor.
Absolutely.
It's the human factor. That's why I'm a strict proponent of human development. Like the goal for us here is to develop ourselves to the highest possible quality. Our emotions, our ego, our consciousness, like everything. Almost like sort of like what a bumblebee does. A bumblebee, unless you get in its way, unless you do something, then you're gonna get stung. They're gonna sting you. But for the most part, a bee is not really worried about you. They're trying to go to the flower. They drop down on the flower, get what they need. Don't even mess up the flower at all. No. The flower is intact, it's perfect.
Intact.
And then they leave. So what happens is intact. It's intact. What happens?
That's right. The Bee Story is such a wonderful movie. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, Bee movie, or go. You distracted me with the bees because I love bees.
No, the bees. Yeah. And I'm learning to love bees myself because
They're
I'm the
special.
one that's gonna be like, but so one of my associates, one of my friends, explained to me like bees are not worried about you. They just
No,
if a bee is around you, they kind of like you a little bit, you know.
they feel
Um,
safe.
but anyway, so
Yeah.
what I was right, they feel safe around you. So um, what we tend to do, especially if we are unaware, if we're moving around unaware of ourselves and our stuff, is that we engage with someone and it's combat. you know, it's combat. It's like let me, and as the saying goes, hurt people. You know, so this is why we have to really develop ourselves to the point where we engage with one another like the bee. We come
Mm,
in
mm.
and we exchange and interact, but we aren't in combat with the person. You know, but that takes some awareness and that takes some intentionality to really get in there and do that, to be
Well,
intentional about doing that.
you have raised the level of of bees. I'm so glad that you brought that in because a bee is very powerful. At the same time, if the
Hmm.
bee uses its power, it has to sacrifice its life. Like, and this is
Right.
another reason why a bee is not interested in stinging you because a bee
No,
wants
it's
to
not.
live, right?
It wants to
It wants to
live.
keep pollinate, it wants
It
to
wants,
keep thriving.
yeah,
Yeah, because the moment that it uses its
right,
stinger is the moment it has to sacrifice its life. So it's really only doing that
right.
at the very peril of it all. And I think that's a really good analogy because I think we have to understand how powerful we are as humans. Like we have a lot of power actually. Um, and power doesn't have to equal abusive and bad. And so sometimes in the church, a common space, being tapped into a person's spirit and their belief system is an extremely powerful thing. Extremely powerful. And
Hmm.
the ability to twist and move it and make it so that it works for singularly for one person or for one certain group of people, it's very easy for that to happen in the space because there's so much vulnerability in our spiritual spaces. So to me, what you just said, as far as we have to be able to learn how to do things in community and in ways where we don't feel like we have to pull our stinger out, because pulling our stinger out in those ways can be the death of us. So we have to. I don't know if you knew that B story was going to be that deep, but but I think you're right. I think you're right on par. All right, listen, we're at the 40-minute mark. I'm trying to be more conscious of our time. Um,
It went so
I
fast. Oh my God.
I know. So listen, I think we have time maybe for one more question or idea around this. And then I do want to talk about if you are enjoying this conversation or if this has really presented for you um uh some more like, ooh, I want to dig into this some more. We do have a really safe space that meets monthly that we want to talk about. But before we go there, any last words about church hurt, Barry, from you, or thoughts on this? And then we'll talk
Yeah, I
about a little
mean,
bit of
just
something else.
yeah, just know that you know, it's I don't want to say it's normal because you have to be like church hurt is normal. Like I don't want to give it that, but it's if it happens that you have to really have some people that you can or one person that you can just get that out of yourself, get it off of your chest. That's the first thing, and then just really dig down into yourself and know like what your spiritual taste buds are calling for. Like what is it that you really want, and if it comes up like I really like this particular church, then it's really about then you may be getting called to help people become their higher self, as well as yourself. Like you may be the person that's called to lead that movement to like, hey, this happened. This is, I was feeling a certain way about it. Like, and just lead that process of healing. Because if someone does something and it was hurtful, like almost like, even if it's intentional, even if it's unintentional, there's healing that needs to happen on both sides. There's healing that needs to happen on both sides. So you may be being called to like lead that healing, and that's really what we all need at different levels and variations, especially in the church. Especially in the church. Anywhere where there's people that are gathering together in community, there's healing that needs to happen, and there's ways to do it that's really powerful and beneficial and edifying, and then there's ways to do it that's it's just not. So,
Right.
Go
I
ahead
love that.
and finish up. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go ahead and talk. Give me a second.
Okay. All right. So I'll keep. All
Okay.
right. So
All right.
do I need to take you off the screen for me? Oh no, he's just okay. I'm gonna move him off the screen for just a moment because he is probably taking a step away. So I love you too, sis. Camila, I see you. I see you, sis. So yeah, this was there's a lot more that we could go into all of this, and I hope that this has been some good food for thought for all of you who have experienced church hurt, or who maybe didn't quite know what to do with that hurt, or are experiencing it right now. I mean, given with COVID and everything that has happened and integrating back into church, there was so much that happened on a spiritual level, and on a thought reflective level during COVID. It's very easy to have felt a bit more distance from, our church environments. And I think it's really important. And people may be feeling some levels of hurt that maybe aren't as specific as someone did something to me, but just maybe just not feeling as connected as before. And that can turn into a bit of a hurtful feeling. So hopefully, Barry said some really wonderful things in terms of finding someone to talk to in the community. And if you don't have anybody in your church community, or at the church that you feel comfortable with talking to, that in itself is something to think about. How available are you making yourself in the church? The other part is, if you don't have someone, but talking to somebody maybe outside the church where you can just get this out. I loved what Barry though also said as far as taking leadership. And maybe, like, let's say this is your church home and you're down for this church and you love this church, and it's a situation where this church has really, really helped you and birthed you in very special ways. And so there may just be a group of people, or maybe just, the church choir. Sometimes a lot of stuff can happen in the choir and the praise and worship. A lot can happen, but it may not be that you want to leave the church. So I was saying, Barry, I really like that you said that maybe it's not about leaving, it's more about stepping up and you being the change agent, you taking on leadership to shift things and create a different culture around something that maybe has been hurtful, and you recognize that. So I think those were excellent tips. So again, if this conversation was something that you really felt connected to and that you would like to maybe dig a bit deeper, Barry and I Barry really leads this. I attend and I learn. Once a month, we have a community called Spiritual Shift Sanctuary. And I say community because it's really, we just started this because we wanted to have more conversations like this. The difference is that in the sanctuary, that's different from the YouTube Live, because Barry has academically really studied theology and has gone to seminary school, he leads a little bit more specific conversations. I'm going to let him explain that a bit more. And I think that's what makes this different. This is us just kind of telling our opinion. But in Spiritual Shift Sanctuary, we have an actual presentation. We have an actual, Barry actually leads us through a bit more food for thought specifically on a topic. So you want to share a little bit more about that. And if this sounds good, you can see here on the scroll, it says patreon.com/finding your voice. And you'll see a tier that's just $10 a month, and it's Spiritual Shift Sanctuary. And you get a lot more than just those monthly discussions. I'll talk about the other things you get too. But since you lead the discussion, what you be talking about?
what I be talking about.
What you be talking about?
Yeah, we go deeper into different conversations, different topics. But first, I do want to just reiterate that spiritual shift is not, it's not Bible study. Um, it's not a place where it's non-judgmental. It's very um, respectful. We just really dig into conversations to have more discussion about a particular spiritual topic, a particular concept. And I usually come from the Christian lens, something related to Christianity, and it's really a space, a safe space, a real safe space. You aren't going to get spiritual shift hurt, sanctuary hurt. You're not going to get it. It's not going to happen.
I know. I hope not. No, no. But we're
No, it's not going to
people.
happen.
We're humans,
But
so we
but
make mistakes. So
but
we
we
gotta
are
tell it.
people.
Yeah.
Right. We do make mistakes, um but spiritual shift sanctuary is really about um just building a community of people that are seekers, people that have questions, people that are really about becoming better beings, becoming better humans, and raising our consciousness to a level, to a higher level, really. Um, and it's like Kenny said, it's once a month, usually the last Sunday of the month, and we deal with topics that are kind of critical and crucial to understanding kind of what this is all about. I think we talked about Christianity as sun worship. You know, what's with all of the
Well,
sun imagery. Go ahead.
yeah. I was gonna say last month I really you talked about what was left out of the Bible, and you
What was
talked
left out
about the
of the
books.
Bible?
Yeah, the books that have been left out and why that may be. And
Yeah.
that was good. And this is the thing is if, and I need to send you the recording of that, but if you cannot attend in lifetime, we do have, we record, so you can request the recording if you happen to miss it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just, those things that you're like, oh, like I didn't know 22 books have been left out the Bible. I didn't know, that, when you talked about the sun symbolism and all the history of that. For me, it's education, and it further helps me because I'm a participant, y'all. I mean, Finding Your Voice is my company, and so yes, I have invited Barry to lead this because I cannot. But because I cannot, I come in as a student and as a learner, and so yeah, it is community. It's a way we have other people in there, and it's small, it's intimate, it's we're growing it, so it's not this masses of Zoom calls. It's not like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to encourage people that if you have an inkling of, man, I always wondered about this or about that, or going deeper into the Bible, or going deeper into spirituality, or whatever. Like, what is this all about? Like, why are we like, what are we doing here? That's what we delve into with Spiritual Shift Sanctuary. All that
Absolutely.
stuff.
All that
Yeah.
stuff. And the other thing is, if you go to this patreon.com / finding your voice, we are doing, because we're growing this community. This is something that I recently set up. There's basically 3 different types of memberships. I know many of you know me mostly to be an artist, and I did and do have a Patreon for my music side. And I have to let my music people know that you are completely a part of already the Finding Your Voice community. I need to get that email out to y'all because y'all can come completely because you're already a part of the Kenya music tribe. But what I was going to say, there's a $5 level, and then there's a higher level that's $29 a month. Each tier gives different things, but what we're doing right now, because we're growing and we want more people to be exposed to everything, if you join at any level at this point, you'll be invited to the next Spiritual Shift Sanctuary, which will be the last Sunday in September, which I believe is September 25th. And we do it at 10 a.m. Central Time. So that's 11 a.m. Eastern. That's 8 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Mountain. I don't know all the GMT London. You have to calculate, but it is early enough where you can watch it pretty much internationally or participate in it. The other thing is, y'all know I just dropped a new podcast. As you see, I'm doing more, I guess you want to say shows, video shows, audio shows. This is a space I'm using my voice in this way. I've used my voice to sing a lot recently. I'm still singing. Don't worry, you will be hearing some stuff from me musically, just not right now. But I did just drop a new podcast. So if you do go to this patreon.com, finding your voice, Mr. Barry is not this Thursday's guest, but the next Thursday. And it's a little bit more focused. It's not a little, it's a lot more focused on him. So if you want to learn a little bit more about him and I and some more really good guests, you can go to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and it's there. But if you join the Patreon group, you actually get to see the video like you're watching. I do video interviews in addition to the audio, and there's some bonus content. So that all you have to do is join at the $5 rate for that. And then you'll also get access to the spiritual shift at the end of the month. So lots of good things. You're going to be hearing a lot more from me like this. I'm creating and creating, just creating in different ways. So I appreciate everybody who's tuning in. And then, Barry, you have something coming up, and I want to make sure that we make room for that. And I'm going to put that up in our scroll in just a moment. So talk about what you have coming up.
Yeah, so we're in so professionally, I've been in education for a couple of decades. So we are launching what's called Project Sparkle. It's a virtual online jury class for young people, 8 to 18. So if you know any young people, high school, grammar school in that age range that love crafting, love arts and craft, we have a 4-week virtual jury making class coming at the end. It's going to start the end of October, the last week in October. So now we're doing registrations and recruiting young people. So if if you have children, if you know people with children that would love to learn how to make jewelry, we're going to be doing that at the end of October. You can go to BeShawnRiley.com and then click on Project Sparkle on that site. And then you can learn more about it. We're also going to we're going to be teaching them about leadership and entrepreneurship. And then at the end of the project, we're going to have a huge virtual showcase where they get to sell their jewelry and become little entrepreneurs. So if that sounds something, if that sounds like something that would be exciting to some young people in your life, you can go to BeShawnRiley.com, click on Project Sparkle, and it'll be right there for you to learn more about.
Yeah. So make sure you visit BeShawnRiley.com, sign up for an info session. If you have someone in your life between the ages of 8 and 18 who needs to dig a bit more into their creative selves, again, it goes all the way to 18. So don't think that this is just for your little ones. This can also be for your older ones. But not only are they learning about, making their own jewelry, but about being creative artists, entrepreneurs. And this is such a necessary, Barry and I talk a lot, clearly, but we were just, I think, was it yesterday, talking about how creative entrepreneurs are in such high demand and are going to continue to be very high in demand because of the way that the work world is shifting. And having the ability to use your creative brain and having the ability to make money as a result of that and lead your business in that. Listen, a creative brain ain't no business brain, naturally. No. You have to really learn that. And having the leadership, and I have had to learn huge, and am still learning that as a creative, how do I monetize my life? How do I monetize doing what I love to do creatively? So I really love this concept of Project Sparkle to first introduce young people just first to the craft of the jewelry making, and then while that, learning how do they begin to get their self-esteem and to get their mindset in the space of how to be a leader and an entrepreneur, and then what are the tools, what are the tools that we need. So I just think it's a great concept. So if you want your youth to be all about that, then check it out. Check it out. All right.
Check it out.
Well,
Check it out.
yeah, check it out. Check it out. Well, I think that is about all we have. We're over our 45 minutes, but we're still within the hour. This will remain up on my Facebook page, and it also lives on YouTube, and it'll be added to our playlist because we have a bunch of other talks. We've been doing this since the start of the summer, correct? Since the YouTube
We
lives.
got a lot of talk.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
we have a lot of YouTube lives, and it's growing.
No, go
It's
ahead,
building.
sweetie. Did you have something any more you want to say? I think there's a little delay, so sometimes I feel like I'm cutting you off, but
No, I was just saying that we have there are a lot of talks. The YouTube live talks, we have quite a few of them now, and our spiritual shift. I think this is coming up on the third one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So yeah, we're excited. We're excited about it, and we're looking forward to meeting new people to talk about these things with, and to share, and to learn from you guys as well.
Absolutely.
For sure.
New or old faces. We always love our old faces. So, if I know you, come on in, come on through. So, all right. Well, you guys have an amazing Sunday and holiday and barbecue and relax and chill and don't labor too hard during Labor Day. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another hot topic. So, all right.
All right.
You guys take care. We're going to get ready to end.
All right.
All right. Thanks. Bye.